Dad. Where's the party?
Oh, well, I'm in a little trouble.
Is she pregnant?
Well, if she is, are you gonna leave the woman carrying your grandchild standing out in the cold?
I look pregnant? Did Bigfoot take it?
We pay tithing, as the Savior taught, by bringing the tithes into the storehouse. We do this by paying our tithing to our bishop or branch president. We do not pay tithing by contributing to our favorite charities. The contributions we should make to charities come from our own funds, not from the tithes we are commanded to pay to the storehouse of the Lord.
For over 40 years, in a spirit of love, members of the church have been counseled to be thrifty, self-reliant, avoid debt, pay tithes and generous fast offerings, be industrious, and have sufficient food, clothing, and fuel on hand to last at least 1 year. Today, there are compelling reasons to re-emphasize this counsel. We heard it done effectively in that great welfare meeting this morning. May I add just a word? Members of the church are feeling the economic pinch of higher taxes and inflation, coupled with conditions of continuing recession. Some have come to their bishops seeking assistance to make house payments, car loans, and utilities. Unfortunately, there has been fostered in the minds of some an expectation that when we experience hard times, when we have been unwise and extravagant with our resources and have lived beyond our means, we should look to either the church or government to bail us out. Forgotten by some of our members is an underlying principle of the church welfare plan that, quote, no true Latter-day Saint will, while physically able, voluntarily shift from himself the burden of his own support. One of the first principles revealed to Father Adam when he was driven out of the Garden of Eden was this: in the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return to the ground.
Travis Wayne Goodsell. Matthew chapter 7. Judge not, that ye be not judged. Numerous people have used that to claim that nobody can judge them, that other people must back off and allow them to do whatever they will. Mormons, for the most part, should know that this is a false doctrine. And Mormons should know that if I were to say, judge not unrighteously, that ye be not judged, but judge righteous judgment, that you should go, yeah, that's what we've been taught as Mormon. And where did I get that from? Because it's not in the Bible. Younger generation has no clue. It's the footnote for the Joseph Smith translation of Matthew. But an intelligent person who reads their Bible would also know that that one verse taken out of context is also false. Because it goes on to talk about the beam and the mote. And so verse 5 is what Joseph Smith said. Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye. Judge righteous judgment. Very simple for an intelligence. Any person that is incapable of reading and comprehending Matthew chapter 7 is classified as illiterate. And so anybody who insists and demands that Matthew 7 means that you can get away with anything you want, nobody can judge you, you're either evil, wanting other people to be illiterate, or you yourself are illiterate and using that to justify your wickedness. And yeah, many people are illiterate because their Christian religion tells them they're stupid, tells them they're unworthy. And therefore, if everybody's unworthy, then we'd have to go around judging everybody. So they take it out of context, thinking they are smart. To say, you can't judge me because you are also a sinner. And they think that they can get away with it. They took it out of context and screwed it up. That is not intelligence. That is ignorance. That is stupidity 101. And so, after being taught this basic principle, you now are told how to learn how to know truth. To learn how to learn. To discern between truth and falsehood. Those who come at you and say that you can't judge them. This is how you can say, yes, I can, and this is how. Beware of false prophets, liars, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. You shall know them by their fruits. Obviously, this is not referring to actual, literal fruit. That you make them grow a garden and judge them according to their prophecies, predictions of the future, by the quality of the produce from their garden. If you understood it that way, you are what's classified as illiterate. Stupid. He's using the science of agronomy, the Jewish author who wrote this, to linguistic science. That you are supposed to be intelligent enough to test the words that he's giving you. And you're supposed to go, oh yeah, they're true. I ran the test. And this is something you're supposed to have done as a child, so that you don't have to do it as an adult or keep doing it over and over again. once you've learned that it's true, you're good to go for the rest of your life. You can go on to the next precept, because there's a whole bunch of them in the Bible. And as a Mormon, you've got more in the Book of Mormon, and the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. And they're not commandments. This is not something that's a burden. This is so that you can live. So that you can have life, have a happy life, and expose people who are trying to take away your agency of life, liberty, and property. Because a false prophet is trying to steal from you. They're trying to hurt you. They want to deceive you and ruin your life with a con. This is why the Jewish author is trying to help you, to save you. He sees clearly to judge righteously. And so the word is to be likened unto a seed. And I'm horrified that they don't have Alma chapter 28, or 32, starting verse 28. It is appalling that they don't have that. Yeah, nowhere. That is sad. A basic thing that should have been done. Bear with me. Hopefully I'm not going to be cyber terrorized this morning. That they're on vacation. Because I fixed this. So let's find out if they kept it or if they rejected me. Again. So we need to go to the Spanish. Español. Nuevo Testamento. And Mateo 7. Frutos. Oh my God. Seriously? Where did you leave it? So yeah, I removed all of that, especially the Guide to the Scriptures. Well, no, they do have Guide to the Scriptures, Obras. I hope that's not fruit. Works. But it's the wrong works. It's the action works rather than the conclusion fruit works. Oh dear God, yeah, they did screw me over. This was among the first ones that I got. So that was when they began to alter my words. And so then they passed the buck to put us in committee groups, to have the committee groups decide what is to be kept and what was not to be kept. And then they made some changes without my permission after that too. So yeah, they again rejected being linked to Alma chapter 32, starting verse 28. Because I didn't do any of this. This is not my work. This is somebody else. However, Ezekiel, for 15c, come on, 15c, inwardly. Interesting, they did allow that, because they're not smart enough to do that. That would have been me. Ezekiel 22, 26 to 27 for Lobos. Or no, yeah, Lobos. And then Aganar. Cheat. Interesting. So somebody else put that. 22. So it appears that it's under ravening. Maybe it's not mine. Ezekiel 22. It may be possible that I didn't get this part of Matthew, but I'm pretty sure I got the first part. Ezekiel 22, and 26. You shall know the Lord, saying, Son of Man, cleansed upon the rainy day of indignation. There is a conspiracy of her prophets in the midst thereof, like a wolf, roaring lion, ravening the prey. That's me. Yep, that was me. But the guide to the scriptures was not me. And so, yeah, interesting. But there should have been Festidos, Buenos frutos, Galatians, fruits of the Spirit. Frutos, John. Yeah, no, they took out Alma chapter 32, starting in verse 28. Needs to be referenced. Book of Mormon, keystone of our religion, and they won't do it. Now we will compare the word unto a seed. Now why? Back in verse 26. Now, as I said concerning faith, that it is not a perfect knowledge. Even so it is with my words. Ye cannot know of their surety at first unto perfection, any more than faith is a perfect knowledge. You are smart enough to know that he did not say faith is a perfect knowledge. Right? Faith is not a perfect knowledge. Therefore, words are not a perfect knowledge yet for you. They are a precept that you have to run the test for. But behold, if ye will awake and arouse your faculties, even to an experiment upon my words, and exercise a particle of faith, Even if you can no more than desire to believe, let that desire work in you, even until you believe in a manner that you can give place for a portion of my words. Run the test. Don't get conned by whatever people tell you to believe. And so, illiterate people are unable to run the test for linguistics to learn truth. Because it only goes over agronomy on how to find out if a seed is good. I don't know about the word. I can't put the 2 and 2 together to come up with 15 for the law of synergy math. Declaration of Independence. Yeah, we're not doing the scripture version. This is Trump Ice 2025. The Declaration of Independence contains words. You do not know at first if these words are true or false. King George says they were an insurrection and ordered the assassination of everybody responsible. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Are they? Yes. But being born under certain conditions is where the inequality then begins. That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The United States Constitution clarifies what that refers to. Property. Possessions designed for your happiness. And it's different for every individual. An inalienable right to life, liberty, and property. That to secure these rights that Great Britain was not allowing to the colonists, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. If you declare yourself king and nobody wants to follow you, you don't have their consent to rule over them. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, taking away agency, Lucifer's plan of happiness, exclusive Mormon doctrine. Didn't I just do a video on that? It is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government. The United States Constitution has never been followed. Nobody ever ran the test on the United States Constitution to find out if it was good and true. Everybody said, no, it's false. We're going to interpret it how we want to and tell other people that we're following the Constitution. And little by little, over the 2 centuries, over the decades, specifically after World War II, under the Nixon administration, the Constitution has been destroyed. And so now, nobody knows what the Constitution says. We as Americans have been made illiterate. Dumbasses who think that the United States Constitution is a democracy. So sad that our founding fathers sacrificed their lives, their life, their liberty, their property, so that we can have it. And you threw it away. And so our government currently is destructive of the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, property of the citizens. And they enforce their destructive ends with military might. Black Lives Matter protesters of police beating them down got beat down during the Black Lives Matter protest. Civil rights movement, assassinations, women's rights, Roe v. Wade's now gone. Immigration and naturalization, gone. And they're even going back to reverse those who have been granted citizenship, either through birthright or through immigration. The current government has destroyed the United States Constitution, has burned the Declaration of Independence, and has the audacity to claim that they are in adherence with the Declaration of Independence, giving you life, liberty, and property. They are illiterate and are telling you to be illiterate. It is the right, it is our duty to throw off such government and to be labeled as insurrectionists, to sacrifice our life, our liberty, our property, to restore America. And the deep state Dems are too cowardly to do it. It was under them that women's rights were destroyed. The big beautiful bill getting passed and getting signed today at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time in Utah will now require Governor Cox to make some serious decisions that he's refused to do previously. He's now being forced to do them. I warned him. Nobody passed him the information from my videos. here it is. Trump is cutting funding to all states for Medicaid and for SNAP. The big, beautiful bill states in words that states are to decide how to disperse the less funding of Medicaid and SNAP. Trump has already made it very clear how this can easily be done. He has a blacklist of everybody who must go and be deported. MAGA states were supposed to do this from the first day that Trump took office. Cox didn't do it. He handcuffed ICE. Section 119. Brigham Young, framing and blaming Joseph because Mormons are illiterate, are unable to compare the word of Section 119 with the Book of Mormon that says no priestcraft, or the word that says that this is the economy of Zion, with all other scriptures talking about the economy of Zion. Storehouses for the poor. Not storehouse so that Jesus can get paid by the hoarding of money whenever he decides to show. Mormons are illiterate, refusing to understand that this word is a lie, a con, a fraud, a crime, an insurrection. That it violates the Book of Mormon. It violates Joseph Smith. It even violates the Bible. Nonetheless, all those who do not pay the church in tithing are unworthy. Money determines worthiness in this church. Money sanctifies the land. Money. And you're not smart enough to figure out that this is a fraud, a crime, an insurrection, to coup America. You're that illiterate, are you? That you are still believing that this is Joseph Smith? You're supposed to be kicked out of Zion for not paying the church. And so everybody who's not a Mormon, or who are apostates and have left the church or were excommunicated, we're all supposed to be deported from the state of Zion. This was their plan, to coup the government by deporting people. Right here. It's been fulfilled. The word is true. Trump is being used to fulfill Section 119 of Brigham Young. The church is using Trump. And don't make me redo that. I just did it yesterday, didn't I? If not the day before, and previous days, multiple times over the years. The Danites in the affidavit of words of Thomas B. Marsh said that he witnessed Danites, as they called themselves, true Mormons. Other Mormons, who are not a part of their merry little band of secret combination, were false Mormons. They weren't true Mormons. And these Danites created their secret headquarters in Adam-on-Diamond, using the spelling of Parley P. Pratt rather than Joseph Smith. I did the research. I put in the footnotes for you. Hymn number 29 spells Amen in the reference of Son Amen, A-W-M-A-N. But page 29 for Adam-on-Diamond, which was titled differently, is A-H-M-A-N. Parley P. Pratt. The other one by another author, composer. Joseph Smith spelled it A-W-M-E-N. Amen. Egyptologists pronounce it Amen. And it's spelled different ways depending on which European country you're from. And so, yeah, it annoys me as the expert in the field when people who are not the expert in the field try to tell me that it's supposed to be pronounced a certain way. You don't know. I am the expert. Do not try to Egypt-splain to me. I will humiliate you because I ran the test. You didn't. You are regurgitating what other people told you, which is a lie. And so the decision that Cox now has to make is, what is he going to do? He is not going to get the money. Is he just going to do it alphabetically until the snap runs out, so that those who are in the Z's, you don't get money for SNAP? What's he going to do about Medicaid? How is he going to figure it out? Cox has proven that he is incapable of running a government all by himself. What is he going to do? We're about to find out. Witness the marvelous powers of illiterate Jesus. And so, the church isn't going to help him. I should read that for you. Documents. Documents. Church. Benson. Prepare for the days of tribulation. October, was it 80 or 81? Let's see if it says here. It was General Conference. Because I was looking for another one from BYU talk and have those two. I think I covered that for you yesterday. Or I'm setting it up for one of these videos that I may never get to. It does not say. Oh, October 1980. Yeah, down in the https://www Church of Jesus Christ. Let's see. Find it. Yeah. Today, there are compelling reasons to re-emphasize this council. Guess I need to read it from the beginning. For over 40 years, in a spirit of love, hilarious when you read the rest of this or listen to it. Members of the church have been counseled to be thrifty and self-reliant, to avoid debt, pay tithes, and a generous fast offering. Oh my God. Be industrious and have sufficient food, clothing, and fuel on hand to last at least 1 year. The test run was 3. You bleeper, Oaks. A test run, huh? They sabotaged you, and that was just for the test run. Today, there are compelling reasons to re-emphasize this council. We heard it done effectively in that great welfare meeting this morning. Was it great? May I add just a word? In other words, it wasn't that great. He needs to add words. Members of the church are feeling the economic pinch of higher taxes and inflation, coupled with conditions of continuing recession. 1980. Yeah. Right before Reagan took over. I wonder who he's complaining about. But the church is working with the deep state Dems. Good. And you also need to know that he would go on to be a part of the secret combination to destroy America, the Council for National Policy, the very next year after Reagan took over. Some have come to their bishops seeking assistance to pay for house payments, car loans, and utilities, and food, diapers. Unfortunately, there has been fostered in the minds of some, those who come asking for help, an expectation that when we experience hard times, when we have been unwise, he's victim blaming, and extravagant with our resources, really, the pursuit of happiness is extravagance? And have lived beyond our means. Yeah, the homeless need to live according to their means. The poor need to live according to their means. Life, liberty, property. We should look, I didn't know that, we should look to either the church or government to bail us out. This is what Trump exploited. The nation, governments of the states, cities, are dependent on federal funding. They have not been able to run the state themselves as self-sufficient, self-sustaining. This is the church's policy towards You have to pay the church and make us rich, But you have to be self-sufficient and self-sustaining. They also use the word self-reliant rather than relying upon Jesus. You are supposed to pull yourselves up by your own bootstraps and pay the extra money to the church. Otherwise, you get kicked out of Zion. Forgotten by some of our members is an underlying principle of Lucifer, of church welfare plan, that no true, like I said, I'm reading this. I got it. I didn't read it. I'm reading it for the first time here. 80? Yeah, I went to the conference. I was 10 years old. I was sleeping during this conference. But I knew, because the information got passed down, that we are not to go to the church for support. That's what everybody got from this. This is what he's saying. The church will not bail you out. And they will not bail you out now. No true Latter-day Saint will while physically able. Yeah, the homeless are physically able. And yet, voluntarily shift from himself the burden of his own support. And to justify this, they quote from the Bible. In the sweat of thy face thou shalt eat thy bread, till thou return unto the ground. The concept of work smart is not in their minds. To create technologies to ease human burdens is not in their minds. For them, yeah, they're leaders. They've worked hard their entire life. They deserve to glutton off of you. This is their mindset. It is pure evil. It is the doctrine of Lucifer. And so the church will not help you. If you are one who gets cut from health care or from SNAP, the church will not help you, especially if you're not a member. If you are a member and you're able to work, they'll tell you, get to work. Even if you can't get a job, the church will make a job for you. They don't want you living off the dole of the church, even though it's just the fast offerings, which was supposed to be tithing. They deceived you with the word. And so it's going to be up to Cox. And I'm going to laugh hysterically if there's an uprising against the church to hand out the trillions finally. So much am I going to be laughing. It'll be so fun. First Nephi, chapter 22. Is this going to be fulfilled in the coming day? And the blood of that great and abominable church, which is the whore of all the earth, shall turn upon their own heads, for they shall war amongst themselves. The abominable church as the whore, Revelation calls the whore Babylon. Joseph Smith section 1, verse 16, refers to Babylon. The church will not decode that, because it is not Babylon that they're referring to. In the Bible dictionary, under Babylon, it says at the end, Babylon also refers to the world. And then in parentheses, Doctrine and Covenants, section 1, verse 16. No, it's the great and abominable church, Mormons. Mormons. This is you. This is the great and abominable church that Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon are talking about. Hilarious. For Mormons shall war among themselves, and the sword of their own hands shall fall upon their own heads, and they shall be drunken with their own blood. And that great whore, who hath perverted the right ways of the Lord, yea, that great and abominable church, shall tumble to the dust, and great shall be the fall of it. That Lucifer shall no longer have power over the hearts of anyone with his lies. Exclusive Mormon doctrine. I warned Cox that if he did not obey Trump, that he would destroy the church. I warned Mormons of the coming destruction of the church. Don't be an extremist. Don't be abusive. You're getting the church in trouble. And you didn't listen. You didn't believe. And here it comes. The church is sitting on $10 trillion, $10 trillion, $10 trillion, $10 trillion, $10 trillion, $10 trillion through the stock market this year. Only $6 billion during the test run. Melissa Grenfell did a video not too long ago in which she reported that the amount is nearing $300 billion in Ensign Peak Advisors. Oh dear, if only you knew the bigger truth. You did not study. They have much more than 300 billion. But everybody learns from her, having not run the test. $10 trillion, $10 trillion, $10 trillion. Okay, so what's Cox going to do? He is now being forced to do it. I told you so. You don't like people who tell us so. Well, you should have listened to me then, shouldn't you? Notice how your rallying and your protesting did absolutely nothing? I told you so. War is what they want. Trump is now passing the war to the states. The Civil War will be within the states so that Trump can get away with it, as he supposes. And yet, Trump is to blame because the church put him in. So, will Cox finally deport the people that need to be deported? I'm willing to bet he will try to avoid deporting members and only deporting those who are not members. Have you not been paying attention to the news? Who was the one and only one person that he stood up for to reverse the deportation that was supposed to happen. Yeah, the Mormon at BYU. Not you other people. Not even Mormons who were in federal jobs who lost their jobs. People have a well-paying job. They have a certain lifestyle based upon the level of income that they receive from their job. When the job is pulled out from under them, they immediately are in an economic crisis because they can no longer pay for their lifestyle that they have been used to living according to the income that they received. And they aren't going to be able to just walk into an equal payment job, at least right away, because those are all taken. And so a person under those situations, if they want to maintain their lifestyle, have to get multiple part-time jobs below their station, education, experience. And under those conditions, they become a slave to the system. Their rights of life, liberty, property, gone. The American dream, over. This is what Trump is doing. He is destroying the American dream. And he is now placing the burden upon the various states to do what Trump was denied doing in the beginning. All the judges, you can't do that, Trump. You can't send them there. You can't send them there. No, you can't send them there. Okay, we'll defund everybody. Now got passed by Congress and will be signed into law today. States will now have to make the decision of who lives and who dies, who gets deported. Trump also has ordered that every state build concentration camps. Even though he calls them detention centers. Yeah, the Nazis played the word game too. Concentration camps. Utah already has them. They call them treatment centers. Psychology is a fraud. Did you run the test? No. I've been warning you about psychology. You didn't listen. You didn't believe. There are over 400 treatment centers just for kids alone. And there has to be more for adults. So there's got to be at least 1,000 for adults in Utah. And so at least 1,500 treatment centers in Utah alone. And yeah, they're on Medicaid. And yeah, they're on SNAP. Unless they're funded directly from the state through the company that is profiting off of the human torture of calling Utahns mentally retarded. First you make people mentally retarded, and then you punish them for being mentally retarded. The Law of Utopia, Thomas More. And thus, why psychologists are getting locked up in prison for their physical, mental, and sexual abuses of those who are they supposed to be caring for. Oops. And treatment centers getting shut down, and then they build 4 more in their place. still believe that psychologists are healthcare professionals, do you? Without a Hippocratic oath? Telling your kids that they're DEI, LGBTQIAPL+, needing emotional support animals, telling them to be sensitive snowflakes, forcing the school systems to not educate kids because it's too stressful, to just give kids a graduation diploma of participation rather than actual knowledge, learning how the word is true or false. Psychology, huh? Yep. And so yes, Utah is in a very dangerous situation because every single one of the people who have been a victim of psychology in Utah, which is a lot of people, are now going to have to be put on the draw straws of Governor Cox. Who do I deny SNAP to? Who do I deny Medicaid to? They're on drugs. They rely on Medicaid to give them the discount. We'll bring this up, even though I've got it planned for another video. I got a dumbass comment. My God. On 1 week later, forgetful Carthage jail Mormons remember the founder. That was in the church news. A week later, and they do an article about how only the Mormons in Carthage jail did a little ceremony of singing. Church did nothing. Their founder, of whom they claim authority from, and they did nothing to acknowledge him. And the reason for his murder, for which they claim they got authority from him for. And they said nothing, they did nothing about it. It came, it went. And you can't be intelligent enough to figure that out. And so Bryce, and I should set this up as I intended to. So, you are new to a new location, to a new school, and you go and you meet with some other peers, and you want to impress them, and so you tell a joke, and you single out a single person, and you tell a joke about their mom. You think it's going to be funny, they'll all laugh, and you'll be one of them now. Then the person says, "My mom is dead." Now, for that counter joke to be the best effectiveness, the mom would have to be dead. Actual dead. Because that's the whole point of doing that counter. Because if she's not really dead, and you say that as a counter for them being a dumbass, telling a joke about your mom, then it's only going to be a temporary effect, similar to their abusive joke about the mom. Nonetheless. So, Bryce is projecting. He forgot his meds today. Because he's asking me, did you forget your meds today? I don't take meds, drugs from Big Pharma through psychology. Because I know you're not talking about a medical doctor for an injury that I sustained and therefore require medicine for symptom management rather than cure. But yeah, he lies. This is an abusive comment. He is unable to defend the church for forgetting, neglecting Joseph Smith, from which the church claims they got authority from with his death. And yet, Bryce, in order to counter that, calls me mentally retarded. Do you see how he's mentally retarded? Illiterate. He is unable to be intelligent. The church made him an enemy of mankind. All right. So yeah, do I need to repeat Thomas B. Marsh saying that the Danites are going to take over the whole world, not just the United States of America, in a future time, and that Joseph Fielding Smith Sr. says that they're going to blame Jesus, as so did the Danites to Thomas B. Marsh, that the President of the United States is Lucifer, and that the President of the Church is Jesus, because I did the video yesterday about Sister Nelson, who knows that her husband is Jesus. And then Oakes saying that 2020 is just a test run for right now. And so, with the 2024 election, immediately thereafter, the next day, stock market, 1,500 rise in the stock market. Everybody now knows AI can rig a presidential election. Who told you? Who told you? I told you. I told you. Yep. And that's the big story. Is that this year, people began to realize that there's something wrong with the election. This shouldn't have happened. Why did Trump win? Why do I not have you up on the screen? Good boy. So Trump got 312 electoral votes. Harris only 226. That was a crushing blow. It was not a close call. Trump spanked her. The U.S. Senate had 53 to the Democrats' 46. The House had 213 to the Democrats' 203. This was a butt spanking. There were some states that flipped: Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia. Apparently, blacks voted for Trump, despite Trump saying they need to go back to the bleep hole country where they came from. Islam, who are terrorists to Trump, who need to be locked up in Guantanamo, voted for Trump. Illegal undocumented from south of the border illegally voted for Trump. Twice on bamboo voting paper for Trump. Women who just lost their rights under Biden for Roe v. Wade voted for Trump, who took responsibility for that. LGBTQIAPO+, part of the DEI network. Trump. Said need to cut out the non-science and acknowledge that they're male or female. Voted for Trump. The poor and the homeless voted for Trump. Democrats voted for Trump. The deep state Dem press voted for Trump. How did you guys get fooled into this? AI. AI is a fraud. I warned you. You didn't listen. You didn't believe. I ran the test for you about Joseph Smith. From the Book of Mormon, AI is now lying, not just unable to be intelligent. It is programmed to regurgitate what is programmed into them. And so, news has come out that there is a lawsuit for the 2024 election results. They are now requiring that the voting machines hand over the details of the vote. They're going to have to do a manual recount because I should find. Oh, that was right there. Oh my God. Because one of the case examples is in Rockland County, New York, in which Kirsten Gillibrand, it is Rockland, New York, right? Yeah, it appears to be the case. That the Kirsten Gillibrand won her Senate seat. She's a Democrat. The voters voted Kirsten Gillibrand for Senate. But not a single one of them voted for Harris. This is an impossibility. This is an anomaly where you have Democrats who put in the Democrat candidate, they're registered as Democrats, and yet they voted for Trump. I told you. AI rigged the machines, the votes. The government is overthrown because of AI. And the very next day, everybody who was in on it knew that AI rigged the presidential election, and the Dow skyrocketed to 1,500. Everybody wants in on AI now. Oh my God. I've been warning you. You don't listen. You don't believe. We're all doomed. We're all gonna die. And here we are. Here we are. And so to finish this off, Alligator Alcatraz is a concentration camp. It's now open. taking in customers. $6 billion to education has now been stopped. So programs for kids are also part of this to be stopped. What is interesting is the FBI and Homeland are warning of lone wolf terrorist attacks for the 4th of July. But after the big beautiful bill got passed, why aren't they heightening the warning? There's going to be a lot more pissed off people that are going to go after the church. Give us our money back. You're hoarding $10 trillion, $10 trillion, $10 trillion, $10 trillion, $10 trillion, No, you need to get your own job. You need to be self-reliant just like us. You are rich because of us. You stole our money. You lied about Jesus. He's not coming. So, KUTV2 are unable to do math. When was the Declaration of Independence signed? 1776. Well, KUTV2 has been reporting all this week that Utah is celebrating the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. It's 2025. That means it's the 249th year anniversary. And they're teaching the kids that it's the 250th anniversary. Oh my God. No wonder Mormons are illiterate. No wonder why Mormons don't know history. It's a good thing they are cutting education. It's not doing any good anyway. Oh my God. And Sim Gill, to finish us off, again, as I told you he would, let more cops go for murdering Mormons in Utah. And what's interesting, he's Indian. He's not American. He's on Trump's blacklist to be deported. That ought to be fun.